It begins, as many stories of disaster almost do, with a single, unexpected message. In the summer of 1982, at the height of the Cold War, a teenage boy sat in his bedroom in the quiet suburbs of Ottawa, Canada. His walls were covered in astronomy posters. A small desk lamp glowed softly against the night, and next to an aging radio receiver, a printer began to whir. Its ink slowly etched out words he was never supposed to read. Coordinates, military jargon, mentions of nuclear silos. The boy's name was Stanislav Petrov. No, that's the twist. It wasn't him. This is not the story of the famous Soviet officer. This is the story of Jeffrey G. Jeff Wiseman, a 17-year-old high school student who accidentally stumbled upon the nerve center of the world's nuclear command systems and may have quietly prevented a global catastrophe. To understand why what Jeff did mattered, we have to step back. The early 1980s were a time when fear lived in the air like static. The United States and the Soviet Union each had thousands of nuclear weapons on hair-trigger alert. A single misunderstanding, a radar glitch, a mistranslated message, could lead to annihilation in minutes. Governments built bunkers, schools ran duck-and-cover drills. The world held its breath every second of every day. And in this atmosphere of tension, Jeff had a hobby: radio. He was what's called a radio ham, someone who explored the hidden frequencies of the airwaves. For him, it wasn't about politics. It was curiosity, an invisible world where distant voices and signals could be captured like fireflies in a jar. One evening, Jeff began scanning a narrow band of shortwave frequencies that, according to rumor among ham operators, carried encrypted military communications. Most of it was static, but then, something unusual. A continuous, rhythmic pulse. He connected his teletype printer, and the paper began to spill secrets. The messages, once decoded with simple amateur tools, contained exact coordinates of U.S. nuclear missile silos, alerts about launch exercises, and the letter was intercepted by Canadian intelligence. Within days, Jeff's quiet suburban life exploded. Men in suits arrived at his door. He was interrogated by the RCMP, Canadian intelligence, and even the FBI. To them, this wasn't a teenager's curiosity. It looked like espionage. And the Soviets? They actually received parts of his message, which meant, for a brief, terrifying moment, both superpowers believed the other might be probing for vulnerabilities in real time. Declassified documents later revealed that the U.S. military briefly elevated its alert level, not because of missiles in the sky, but because of a letter from a teenager. Jeff was eventually cleared of treason. He wasn't a spy. He hadn't been recruited. He was just a kid who accidentally tuned in to the apocalypse. But here's the part few people know. After the incident, both the US and Canada quietly upgraded their communications security. The vulnerabilities Jeff had exposed were real. If a 17-year-old could intercept launch messages, what could a hostile nation do? His discovery may have closed a dangerous gap, one that, in a crisis, could have sparked an accidental launch. Experts who've studied the Cold War say incidents like Jeff's rarely make headlines because they don't fit our narrative of power. We expect generals and presidents to hold the fate of the world, not teenagers, not bedroom radios, but history often turns on strange hinges. Years later, Jeff withdrew from public life. He gave a handful of interviews, mostly downplaying his role. But when asked if he ever thought he might have prevented a nuclear disaster, he paused, then quietly said, "Maybe, but that's not why I did it. I just thought someone should know." There's something haunting about that. A teenager, listening to invisible frequencies, becomes a silent guardian of the world without even knowing it. It makes you wonder, how many other close calls were never reported? How many moments of catastrophe were softened, not by governments, but by ordinary people who happened to be in the right place, listening. In the end, Jeff Wiseman didn't stop a nuclear war with speeches, armies, or power. He stopped it with curiosity, with the simple, stubborn human impulse to understand. And maybe that's what makes this story linger, because it reminds us that history isn't only written in boardrooms or bunkers. Sometimes, it's written in the quiet hum of a teenager's radio, on a warm summer night, when the world is unknowingly on the edge. This was the story of the 17-year-old who stopped a nuclear war, or perhaps more accurately, the one who listened when no one else did.